TinkerCAD tip, QR code keychain tag. This is part 2, a follow-up to my first video. And in the first video I showed how to create this QR code using a site called qr.io. There it is right there. Let's come back here. I've got this now scaled down to about 27 millimeters square, and I had used this shape over here to be sort of a guide for sizing. Let's go ahead and delete that now. Now let's focus on making the key tag itself, and that'll probably be the focal point of this video. Let's start by bringing out a box here. Now, I do want to put a radius on our key tag, so let's start here. Let's change this to white. Now, let's change some of the parameters here. This is 27 millimeters squared. So let's make the width of this be, let's say, 40. And let's see, the length here, let's make that to be, let's say, 32. That might be about right. And let's put a radius on this of 5. Now, note here when I do that this form becomes pillowed at the top and the bottom. We're going to want to cut that out of there. Let's first change the height here. Let's set this back to 20 because we want to use the box over here to change our height. Let's bring that up a little bit. All right, let's cut a flat out of this by bringing out a whole box. Let's bring that down a little bit. Scoot it over. Let's move our QR code aside here. Cover the whole bottom of that. What we're going to be doing here is taking a slice of this that we can reuse. Let's make a duplicate of that whole box and hold in the Control key. Let's change our snap grid to 1 millimeter. We're going to bring this up. Now notice in between those two we have a nice flat slice, but we have our curves on the corners. Let's select all 3 of those, group those together. Select that, drop it down to the work plane. Now let's go ahead and make this, let's say 1.4 millimeters in thickness. Now we want to put a hole in this, so let's simply bring out a whole circle here. Let's change the number of sides to its maximum. Let's make it 5 millimeters. Let's bring that over here a bit. Let's make sure that this is centered. First of all, select the both of those, center it this way. Now let's move that over just a wee bit there. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and merge those two together to make this. Now from this, I'm going to create this border that we see on this. And the way to do that is to select this object that we now have. We're going to export that as an SVG. Click Save File. And we'll just call it QR code keychain.svg. We'll save that. We're going to come back over here and click on Import. From Import, I'm going to select Choose a File. There's my SVG. Let's open that. Select Import. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and change this to black. There's our preset color here. Now, over here in the parameters, I want to change the quality. We'll max that. And we want to do a fill mode called Inner Line. This is going to create our outline for us. There we go. And the line width, I want to be about 2 nozzle widths wide, which would be about 0.8. And you see now we have our outline. Let's go ahead and select the 2 of these, align them together. Now let's change the height of this outline here. Let's make this be 2.2. So that's just a little bit higher than the back of the key tag, just 1.4. We can go ahead and merge those together. We'll select the color here and make it multicolor so that we can still see that outline. Alright, now let's slide over our QR code, but before we do that, we want to set the height of this and to be able to set it on this key tag. So, again, my printer is doing 0.2 millimeter layer heights. I want to make this about 4 layers, so I'm going to change this to 0.8. I'm going to click on my work plane tool, put it on top that key tag, and then while this is selected, I'm going to hit the letter D to drop it to the work plane, which is now the top of this. We'll put the work plane back out here. Alright, let's select both of these objects. We'll do an alignment. Let's go this direction, and now before we merge it, let's slide this over a little bit. There we go. Let's merge all of that together now. And there we go. The total height of this is 2.2. We have a pretty substantial key tag underneath it, and what I think is going to be a legible QR code when it's printed. So now let me show you the next part. I'm going to export this to Cura and we'll slice it up and put in our layer change at height there. So while I have this selected, I'm going to click on Export. I'm going to do it as an STL. I'm going to open with Ultimaker Cura. Alright, here we are in Cura. I happen to use Cura, and this feature, the filament change at layer, is available in other slicers as well, like Prusa Slicer and Bamboo Slicer. I'm quite certain of it. So what I've done here is I've chosen a profile for PLA. I'm going to print with a white background and then, the black symbol. And what I want to do is first slice this. So my profile is 0.2 layer height, and my line widths are about 0.42. I get a little bit of squish out from under the nozzle. And the first thing I want to do is slice this so that I can figure out at what layer I want to do my color change. So if we zoom in here and do our preview, I can use this slider over here to determine what layer I'm at. See there, I'm at layer 5, 6, 7, and right there at layer 8 is the beginning of the code. So at layer 8, I want to insert a filament change. I'm going to come down here. I have this filament change command that I've added. I've enabled it. It happens at layer 8. And I'm going to use my printer's firmware to do the movement of the nozzle so that I can change and purge the color filament before it goes back and continues printing. So at this point I would click close, and I would click with print with Octoprint and send it to my printer. You may have to put it on an SD card and move it from there. But that's basically how I went about creating this working simple QR code on a small keyring tag. If you have questions or comments, feel free to leave those for me. Hopefully this will inspire you guys to try some other things and to do your own URLs to point to things that you want people to see. Your social profiles, your website, maybe your shop on Etsy.